Mwasibire muta, mwasibye mutya, amahoro, agandi, byaibo, habari gani, muraho, sangonini, kopango, odeo. For those of you who are wondering what that was, these are some of the various local greetings found in East Africa's diverse languages. Welcome to SheCentre, the female podcast, where I dive into the issues and experiences that affect women everywhere. I am your host, Resti Kansime, and I am passionate about creating a safe space for women to share their stories and triumphs. I want to thank you for tuning into my podcast, and I would love for you to join our community and stay connected with us beyond this episode. You can find us on Instagram at _SheCentre_podcast and follow us on Facebook at the SheCentre podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and hit that follow and like button on our social media to be part of the conversation. Hey, a special welcome back to you, oh my listeners, and to the new people on here. Welcome to SheCentre, the female podcast. I took a break. I felt like I needed it because it takes so much energy to do everything on your own, you know. You have to work on the content, you have to record people, you have to edit the podcast, blah, blah, blah. It's too much. So I felt like I needed a break. I still need one, but well, I have a story for you, a really good story. I've been looking forward to speaking to this person since I started this podcast, or way before I did, because she is someone very dear to me. She's like almost my bestie, but she's also my auntie, and she is my friend. My guest today is called Vanessa Karungi. She is a lovely mother of two, a single mom. She is a specialist in newborn care, which she is doing in LA, California. She is also an artist. She is a musician and an actress. She doesn't like to put her music out there, but she's really good. I hope she does that soon. And she is basically, how do I describe her? She's someone you'd love to have on your side. If you have Vanessa as your friend, then you are winning, because she is very optimistic. She has the best perspective of life, and she is a force of nature. Simply, that's how I can sum up her life. Vanessa has lived a very, very crazy life. Traumatic, I would say. So many people would not be standing strong if they had gone through half the things that Vanessa has gone through. But guess what? This girl is... She is still standing. Like a phoenix, she rises. In every situation, she comes up on top. I have never seen her beaten. And growing up, looking up to her, she was practically like the air I was breathing. Yes, I'm a Christian now, and I know that wouldn't make sense, but Vanessa was practically the queen. Myself and other relatives, the younger people, we looked up to her because she just was those people who just lived her life to the fullest. She still does. She's one person I still admire, and she really inspires me because I didn't know half the things that she had been through that caused her to become who she is right now. And sitting down and talking to her about her life, and she was able to answer the question, what happened to you? And I will tell you that this was a shocker for me. First of all, I'm very glad that we had a conversation before we started recording, like a week before. And if we had recorded, I would have lost it, because she shared some really personal stuff that went down in her life as a young teenager and in her adult life. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I was so angry, I was so filled with rage. But guess what? I listening to her speak about her life made me feel like, who am I to be angry? Because if someone like this who has gone through all this is healing from it, she hasn't 100% healed, as she says, but she's healing and she has become self-aware, then who am I to sit there and be angry at the people who have hurt her? I love her so much. This woman is, oh my God, you guys, I cannot wait for you to listen to this. I literally had to, it was a hassle for me to decide whether to make part 1, 2, 3, or to make just part 1 and part 2. And we talked for a really long time, I think for 3 hours. And I still do not think her story is over because there's so much that she didn't share. Hopefully one day in the future I can be able to bring her back onto the show for her to share more of her story. And I do believe that Vanessa and I are going to partner up. I told her she's the perfect person for her to help me, to guide me through this SheCentre platform that I'm building, to be able to help more women like her, because she is so full of grace. This woman is, oh my God, I can't wait for you guys all to listen. Thank you so much for listening. Listen until the end to find out the worst, I think the worst thing that ever happened to her abuse. And then in the following part next week, you'll find out about her marriage to a con artist. Oh my God. And and how she has managed to overcome all this and continue staying on the top of the world. She refers to herself as God's favorite child, and I agree with that, even if I also do believe I'm a God's favorite child. Anyways, without further ado, here's Vanessa Karungi. Enjoy. And hi, Auntie V.
Hi.
This is like my best day ever. You know why?
Why?
Because I have always thought your life is a movie.
It is.
And there are times when I'm speaking to my friends, and I'm telling them like your story, because your story is really much more fun than so many other people's stories. And people are usually like, Rusty, are you sure? That sounds like a lie. So, how are you, Vanessa? For those who are listening, this is my auntie, but she is also my sister. So you might get confused when I say Auntie Vanessa and then I say Vanessa. Just get used to it. How are you, Vanessa? How is LA?
I am wonderful. I am blessed. LA is amazing. How are you?
I'm good. Today is really hot. It sounds like summer is knocking at the door, but I'm sure it will get cold a little bit at the beginning of next week or something. Anyways, today is about you. You are, I don't even want to say so much. I might start crying.
Thank you for having me on this SheCentre.
You're welcome. Thank you for honoring my invitation.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have been we've been talking about having you. We prepared for this conversation. I hope we don't disappoint the listeners, because we might get lost with her and be like, wait, where were we?
I know, because we know so much about each other. So this is going to be tricky, but hey, let's give it a shot.
Okay, I think that's the fun thing about it, though. We know so much about each other. So anyways, so I told you, I'm exploring this question called what happened to you. Me and you talk about it so much because of trauma and growth and all that stuff. And I find that in many cases, women, their stories are being told by other people. Men as well, but I think for women in particular, it could be because that society has this perspective of women. Like, you should be like this, you should be like this. And if you break the rules, then you are like the outsider, and your story is like, okay, this is what she has done, so this is how her life is. This is what she's going to end up becoming. Like, they already did, like, they know what you're going to be. Exactly. And what I want right now is for people to tell their own stories, women to tell their own stories, because I've also been on the receiving end where someone tells you, hey, you're the people who does this and this and this and this. And you are the literal description of people who have broken all society rules.
Absolutely.
You've broken all the rules of society, all the rules of everything, and you just do you. And that's the most amazing thing about you. I don't know if you know that. I have told you this many times, but growing up, you were my hero. Like, I was like, if only I could just be like this woman. And then when I grew up, I was like, wait a minute, this woman is crazy. I was like, who am I trying to be like? Shall I manage? And then when I got to the later years, like recently, I think in the mid 20s, that's when I was like, wait a minute. This person who I'm trying to be like, I think it was in when I turned 30.
Mm.
That's when I was like, the person I'm trying to be like is the way she is because of stuff that she has gone through that I have no clue about or that I've never experienced. And here am I copying and pasting because I grew up looking up to her as my hero. So I was like, resty man, first organize your life properly and find your own road and stop focusing on other people's roads. And I like how me and you talk about stuff like this all the time. So today I brought you because I do know many of my listeners are family members, are friends who know about you, but they don't know you. They know about you, but they don't know you. And that's why we're here to ask the question, what happened to you, Vanessa? The question is, tell us about your childhood and how you think it might have impacted the person that you are right now and how you see the world. So,
My
here you go.
childhood. Hey. All right, where do we start? Well, my childhood was quite tricky, I must say, because of, I guess, the way because I'm a child then, I was about maybe 3 years old when I was taken to live with my cousin, Koe. Um, so I literally was not raised by my parents. And I was the only one. Does that make sense? Like out of all my siblings, I was the only one. So being the only one and seeing that and like without any, because you know how it is back home, like there's no explanations like, oh, maybe we're going to take you to so and so's place because it's closer
Because,
to school or
exactly.
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I guess if it had gone that way, it probably would have gone differently. But I was just like uprooted from the life I knew. All of a sudden, I'm in a new household. Um, then, of course, that household's expectations is different from the expectations of the household that you were
At
like
home.
initially born into.
Yeah.
And then I guess that also caused me to develop like multiple personality. I'm not going to call mine a disorder because it does like I don't flip
Yeah.
back and whatever. I just had to
Yeah.
know how to act according to where I was then.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as early as age 3, I was not with my mom or my dad. I was living with my cousin. And that part was actually not too bad, except I kept wondering why I was there. But she loved me. I was like one of her kids. I mean, like she only had, and I think she had 2 kids. So I felt at home there. And then it wasn't too long. I think I was about maybe at age 6 or something. Then I was maybe a little later.
That's
Then I
like
was
primary
moved.
school, yeah?
Right, when I started primary school, then all of a sudden, I got moved again. No explanation. Like I went back home for the school break, and after the school break, they bring me back to the town. Well, I grew up in Fort Portal, for those that did not know, and they brought me from Karambi, where my home is, and then this time we went past my cousin's house. I knew where she lived, Harcourt.
Okay.
You understand the thing? Like they're taking you
Yeah,
back.
like what's going on?
The school is about to start, so you're going back.
Wow.
But then this time, they take you past where you know you always leave during school time. So I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? But then you're not asking questions because it was kind of tricky asking questions then. Yeah, so now imagine this. You are a kid. You know where you live when you're going to school. And then all of a sudden they're driving past that place. And you have questions, but you don't quite know where to start asking those questions. And maybe because adults back home then, they would just like, maybe they're supposed to take you somewhere and they would just go about and first do like run their errands or whatever before they drop you. So I'm assuming, maybe they're going to the town first to do certain things before I'm dropped off. And before I knew it, I'm introduced to a whole different family. My uncle's family, my dad's brother. Now, here I am, new. Of course, you feel like you don't quite belong because that's not your home.
Yeah.
And then here I am now learning how to behave yet again in a different household.
Yeah.
And so you don't know. You always you. I grew up. I think what I can say is I was totally confused about who I was because I always behaved according to what environment I was in, as
Yeah.
opposed to
True.
this
True.
is my character. So and okay, moving on. Not too long. I think I was there a couple of years, maybe very few years actually. I think 3 or 4. And before I knew it, they are talking about taking us to better schools because, oh, we need them to be able to get into like better high schools, right? So they're like, oh, yeah, so you're going to go and live with your aunt in Kampala and basically go to school there. Okay. Well, I'm like, okay, I guess it
You
is what
just
it is.
go wherever they tell you
I
to
mean,
go.
like, no, then that time though, it had become part of my life. I always knew, I'm likely to be moved from here to another place. So I kind of,
You're a nomad.
yeah, because the decisions were made for me. I was never asked what I was comfortable with or what I wanted. So whatever was decided, I went with it. So I started kind of like going with the flow. I'm like, oh, but then the excitement too, there was that excitement of, oh my God, I get to live in
Something new
Kampala.
to explore. Ah, okay.
You
Yeah.
understand? Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I actually get to live in Kampala. Or because my Margaret, your mom, you guys, everybody was like, everybody was there. You understand? So in my head,
Yeah.
that is cool, I guess. And then you don't also know what Kampala is like. So you're thinking maybe your auntie's place could be like, because I saw it like Poto, walking distance to other people's homes, right? So I was under the impression that maybe my auntie's place was somewhat near my sister's or whatever.
You had never been before this time?
No, I had been, but not no Kampala. I had never lived. I had like
Ah,
come
okay.
to like there's a function, maybe a wedding, then they bring you over. But I never really had lived there, like living and knowing what Kampala is like. Anyways, so they bring me. We finally travel to Kampala. We get to my auntie's home, and and then over there, life changed like a lot. Like life was so different. Like I think that's the household where I felt like
Out of
really like
place?
I did not belong. And I do not know, I mean, like at the end of the day, I do not know if that was just my feeling or it was because this time the place was like because now we are a little because I'm a little older now. I think I was going to P5 or something. So I was a little older now, and I guess understanding more, like, oh, so this is not home. Like you're here, but you cannot behave the same way the rest of the kids here behave. And the confusing part is because I got there with my cousin, Kanyuzi, so we're like close from Fort Porter, right? But when we got there, they separated us when it came time to get us schools. They put Kanyuzi together with my other cousin May in Namugongo, and they put me in Kisubi by myself. So when they separated me from Kanyuzi, because now Kanyuzi was somewhat like, I don't know how to say it, like we always went to school together. So I assumed that we were all going to go to the same school. But they put me in my own school in Centuries like Kisubi, your school. And
OG.
I did not understand that part too because it was never explained to me. I kept wondering, why was I like sent in a different school? Like, why did they take? Because we all got enrolled like around roughly the same time. But I always wondered why I was put in a different school. Like, why don't you just put me together with my cousins?
And
At
those
least
questions can
for
eat you.
family. Honestly, when you don't have a
I know those questions where you can't ask the parent,
yeah.
but you're like, huh, but.
And also remember that during that time, my parents were like the poor ones in like like how my dad was always came off like the one that's doing worse than
So they
all
took
his.
you to the cheaper school, huh?
You understand? I think so because I don't know whether it was cheap or something, but they took me to, I guess, what my father would afford. I don't know because it was never explained to me. To date, I've
They
never
were
got.
they are both they are both equally good schools. I actually think St. Teresa is a much better school.
I think
But
actually
but but Namgongo is more like a private-ish school because it's owned by someone. So it
mm-hmm.
must have been more expensive. And St. Teresa
Uganda
was like on the, yeah.
no,
St. Teresa was more on the, I think it's a government
government
school.
side.
Yeah, it is public government. Like it's like built by
Right.
missionaries, owned by the government. So
Right.
we paid little money. I can imagine if we
I
paid
think so
little, how
because I
much
don't
little you
remember
guys
my
paid.
school fees.
You guys must have paid like 150K.
So I think maybe
When
with
I
me,
was there, we were paying less. Yeah, yeah. Probably it was about money.
because me now in my head, I'm thinking my aunt is making the decisions, right? So like that creates
Mm,
resentment to
yeah.
somebody. So
Yeah, yeah.
somehow I started to resent my aunt, thinking,
Oh.
oh wow, like she's the one who chose the schools. I wonder why she chose a school different from like mine, different from the other girls, because I
Mm,
wanted to be with my cousins. But then later in like I think within a year or so of being at that school, I somewhat you know how you get your school break and then you go back home. So after the first term, I went back home. I was the second in my class. So I was like, I was excelling. Why? Because this time I guess I felt like somewhat like a little like as if I was independent, but also under different adults. But I had to do everything myself. And then I also learned how to take care of
other
younger,
people.
like younger
Yeah.
siblings stuff because then in centuries that what used to happen. Like you the older kids get up
Washing for
in the
other
morning,
people,
wash
doing
stuff.
everything. Ugh.
Right. I child. The kids were like babies. P1, P2, they're peeing on the bed. You're literally washing pee. You're just like how old? Do you know?
Not only pee, you know what
I
else?
know, I know. I mean, like I demand before
I
that.
joined when I joined when I was in peace. I was 7 years old when I joined that school. So I was practically a baby. And mommy lied to me. I will never forgive that woman for that. They
What
sold
did
me
she
a
say?
lie. They sold me a lie. Anyways, to be discussed in the future. They
And
made
it's
it seem like I was going to be to the best school. I got there, I was like, what's happening? Where's my grab,
why?
first of all? I told Amy, I need my grab. I can't sleep. I want to eat right now. Anyways,
No.
let's not drift off. Memories are flashing down my head.
The funny thing is, I guess I feel like in Saint Teresa, while I was in the school, is when I slowly maybe started finding like somewhat
Finding
like
you, your
knowing that
independence, you.
my character is this, not that. You understand? But still, I would not tell them apart because I was still a child. You know.
Yeah, true. About 10
Also,
years old when you're in P5.
yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I think I also grew up like, how do I say it, where you feel like you're somewhat always walking on eggshells. Like you don't want to make mistakes because you're called out a lot. I don't know if it was because of my
Perfectionist
character.
syndrome. That's cool. They wanted everyone to be like Mother Mary.
You
Let's
know?
talk about it.
So the walking on eggshells and then the constant prayers. I was not one for wanting to pray, whatever. They wake you up in the morning prayers. My God, before you eat dinner, you're praying. I'm thinking, what is going on?
Before you
Like,
go to sleep
I,
and you wake
I
up.
used to, but then also, little did I, because I think if I'd grown up at home, centuries would have been much easier
I
because,
know. Oh, sorry for
understand?
you. At least I knew how to say the rosary.
Do you understand that part? So because I
Oh,
didn't have
yeah,
to
yeah,
at
yeah,
home,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess one of
yeah.
the weird part also is all the other households I grew up, like Corway, they were Protestants. They were not Catholic. You understand? So we used to go to a Protestant church. And then when I went to Sanya's place, the wife was practicing Protestant as well. The husband never went to church. So also at Sanya's place, I went to a Protestant church. So here I am now
It can
learning
be
how.
overwhelming.
I knew about Catholicism because, of course, some holidays when I went home, the rosary, whatever. But that part also, I kind of like. kind of did not like home that much because of that. I'm like, what is wrong? Why do they pray a lot? Over there where I stay, we don't have to
Van,
pray. We don't even have to.
don't pull out some memories that no one wants to talk about right now.
I'm telling you, it was like,
Man, they would wake us up with blanket off.
yes,
Mukire mukiri nyabana mwimuke.
but it is so peace, man. Because oh my
At
God,
6 in the morning, I'm like, we're having holidays.
I
Mwimuke
know.
tusabe.
Your grandmother would start singing in the hallway of the house before getting to, and then you'd know, Mukire.
She would repeat herself once. Guys, wake up. She comes back. Wake up. The third time, your blanket is on the front on the floor. Third
How about
time,
the
you
water?
might get some water on you.
Okay, I was about to ask you, did not get the water experience?
Man, those memories. Let's not
Oh
even
my
go there,
God,
Vanessa,
the
please.
water experience. Just get up and pray. Yo, like, ay. And
We had to know God by force. Thank God I love God, man. But the way I learned how to love Him wasn't an easy one.
I know it was forced on me. The guy was forced on me. It was like they were like shoving him down my throat. I'm thinking, what is wrong? Me,
It's either God or hell or Satan. Like you either love God or you love Satan. There's
but
no
you
in
remember,
between.
hey, it's so interesting. You remember you remember the punishments? You know, when you don't recite the rosary in that household.
The water drum thing.
Oh, I know.
We feel drums, man.
With
Anyways, man.
water.
Let's
Anyways,
not
okay.
even let people think I'm cool. Don't talk about that stuff.
I know. So,
But those are really fun memories, trust me. But the funny thing is, yeah, before we move further, those are my best memories.
me too. Now as an adult, they are
Yeah.
my best.
Like that
You know,
whole chaos of wake up, us like revolting. Remember one time Murungi passed through grandma's legs when we were like in the room?
you
Yeah.
almost fell.
And she was like, you guys are always like, I think it was you guys, Dorian, we were all in a group and you guys were the older ones. So we were telling us cool stories. And then grandma came and Murungi, my brother, goes through her legs. And like those are the best memories. When I tell people about them, they don't even believe me.
Listen, I don't care what we were doing or how many chores we had to do. There was joy. There was like, you know,
Remember
like
when I fell in the well? That's like my favorite time.
you were also something else. My God, you were like all over the place.
Anyways, Vanessa,
Oh my
let's keep moving. That's why I said I apologize in advance, guys.
Eh?
This is us.
Right? How about we will get there because then that's not happening. The dancing, let's so modeling. And
Man. Anywho.
anyway, so also like in Centriza, I feel okay, I'm not gonna say that it's where I found myself or my character because then I did not know nothing about that. I feel like I I found what I like to do. For instance,
Art.
I arts, yes, singing,
You were
dance.
oh my
I
God, you
used
made
to
it
play
so
the
easy for us
xylophone.
when we joined.
I
You
used
were
to
the
play.
celebrity that's still a celebrity.
Me,
I
they're
just
like,
had to say, yeah, my auntie's Vanessa. And they'll be like, what? You know this woman? I'm like, yeah, she's my auntie.
he's
Yeah,
like,
that's quite interesting. They were really good with arts. Like even no matter how extreme they were with religion, they were also really extreme with other
art.
stuff. Yeah, yeah, that's a
Also
cool thing. Yeah,
because remember that we had those inter-school competitions.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Had to
The
make
drummer
sure they
system.
make
Yeah.
time and all that. They used to actually, I remember there was a guy say something. They used to bring in this guy to teach us how to pronounce, like when you're singing Luganda song, how to pronounce
Do.
Mr. Kasasa, I think that was his name. How to pronounce nga instead of vunga. Like
For the Westerners.
I know, yo, like I think I was actually a very good Luganda person then, but now, of course, I don't speak it a lot, so
Yeah.
it kind of like
Yeah,
disappeared.
that's really cool. I can see how that fits into your life now because I think that's when you got into the limelight of I'm a star, you know? Everyone
No,
embraced you as a star in the school. You were the
also,
drummer,
to
queen and
remember,
everything. Yeah.
exactly. But also remember this part where I grew up thinking I was not good enough. Nobody likes me. Nobody likes me.
And then you go to a school where you're like, everyone is like,
Now
Vanessa.
everybody's looking at me as, oh my God, without her, we are not going to win. We need
Oh,
her. She
wow.
needs to be part of.
Oh,
So all of
I
a sudden, you're
see.
that important person. And the
Like people
teachers,
needed you.
from the headmistress to the teachers to the students, like you're looked at as that person that holds their school arts up there. You understand?
Wow. Yeah,
Now
true.
imagine that at some point, actually, I graced the school magazine. It was the first magazine. Century is
Yep.
I think the first magazine
They
ever.
they put you again in 1990, I think 1998. I probably was in P2 or P3. They
Oh my
put you
God,
again
I'm
on the
way
cover of
up
the
at that.
magazine playing the Madinda. Yeah, they
Yes, I'm
put you
playing
again.
there.
Like, and this wasn't even, it wasn't a school magazine. It was a regional magazine.
Oh, actually, it was regional because we had won. I
Yeah.
think we won that school competition.
Yeah.
We had won, and of course, I represented because we
You
had
were the best.
stage acting. Okay, I was
Yeah.
basically that person, and then go to music. I played instruments. I don't know what's going on with me now because I don't know if I.
Girl,
I'm not
I
saying
followed in your footsteps. I knew how to play Odinga. I knew how to play Madingida. Check whatever all that stuff is. I don't remember anything right now.
but
I
I
could
feel
be
like
a
if I
guitar player right
got
now because I
one
used to play
now,
this thing.
I feel like if I got one now, I would get back to where I would
Remember?
remember. Or
Yeah.
I'm gonna try keyboard, piano, because it's just almost the same except you use fingers this time instead of sticks.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I might actually get into that easily. So, anyways, so in Kisubi, I was a star. Then that's when I started feeling like, oh,
I'm
you know what?
something.
I'm important somewhere. You understand? I don't care. If
Yeah.
my parents don't love me, who cares?
Did you look forward to going
Love
to
me.
school?
I loved school more than I loved going for holidays. Okay.
What did you do when the holiday, like, at the end of the whole, at the, like, Chiromo,
I was one of those kids that
who don't pack
while
up?
other kids are celebrating, we finally go home. I was one of those kids that now is looking at my life. Oh my
Lero
God.
Chiromo encha tugenda.
I
And you're like, no,
actually
I don't want to go.
I never celebrated Chiromo. I'm telling you because in my mind I'm thinking, oh
I have to
God,
go
this is
back
the only
to
place
now
I
on.
actually feel like important, the only place I feel loved,
Yeah.
appreciated. Now here we go again. Oh my God. I actually did not like going back home.
Did you have that sense of, I don't even know where I'm going? It might be at
Yes,
grandma's,
because
it might be here.
that's it. Because you don't like I really never knew. And I my preference was for the holidays if they would send me to my sisters, your mom, to you guys home, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But my dad sometimes allowed it, and most times he refused
Yeah.
because he was, of course, they were like, ah, no, if she goes to, and also I don't know what they were discussing as adults between him and his sisters and brothers. I think he realized he was like, no, it's best that she stays with this specific family, my
There's so
aunt.
much freedom.
I know, I think that too, because then I mean, like, she's my sister. You get it?
Yeah, yeah. You
Like,
might not be treated
and
the proper
no,
way.
but all that happened when I was at my sister's is I felt like a child. I felt like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
belonged. They let me be a child.
yeah.
I did not, hear about problems like, oh, like adults discussing they're not sure if my father will like afford the school fees. So now you start worrying about whether.
Did they ever put you in Kadukulu? I don't know if you guys had that at your
Oh
time.
my God, yes.
when,
For
when you
mixed
haven't paid
vacation.
school
Oh
fees.
my
No,
God.
there's that part where at the end of the time when you haven't paid school fees
Yes,
and they can't
no,
give
where
you
they
a
hold you.
report, so they hold
Yes,
you in a room.
yes.
I
Until
was
you
there twice, Van. But
they
it was fun. It
and then
was fun,
everybody in
but
the
yeah.
school knows you're the kids that didn't pay your school fees, complete the
They-
school fees. That is also traumatizing. So the kids know that you're the poor ones that cannot afford your stuff.
Yeah, because they read your name on assembly at the end of the term. They're like, these people, please bring your suitcases, come into this room. Until your parents come, you will get your reports then. So basically, you're going nowhere. You're in prison. Yes, we've come from
Oh
far.
my God. And how can you imagine how
Yeah.
adults thought that was okay? Like
I
in that
think they were doing their best. They didn't have the money. Okay, I don't know about your dad. My mom didn't have it.
no, I'm talking about the
The
adults in
teachers.
school that would put us in Kadukul.
Man,
Like
guys needed their money. They're like
You have
charging you
the time,
200K per term. Why can't you afford it?
but here is the thing. Where, like, did they ever come and take a child out of school without signing you out? No.
No, some
They,
people used to escape. There's some friends
oh,
of mine who literally would go, like, you know how your dad comes and they're
mm,
like, okay, just like they would come and be like, just get out of the place and go, be like you're going to the toilet. And then when you go to the toilet, you run and you leave your luggage behind and the report. There are people who used to escape.
oh, I don't remember. Maybe it happened during my time too, but I don't remember that. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, man, I need to check my child. I don't have the money. So what do we do? We will talk about it next semester.
But you know what
But
though?
yeah.
Whole thing of like escaping from school. I actually started escaping from school when I was in Kisubi.
Where
Like
where
escaping.
did you
Yeah.
go?
There was a lady that was, I think, related to mom or something. She was an I don't know if she was a nurse or something, but you know how like on the playground then you go under like
The fence.
I need to explain it. The upper campus, right? You know how like
The primary section,
one,
yep.
yes, that's right. So there was where you would pass and then get into the
The church section or the hospital section?
to like as though you're going towards the hospital, the hospital side.
Yeah, like the
That
school
woman, I
was
think,
so
was a
open.
nurse. She used to work in that place. So every time I would like, I'll just show up at her place. Like there's no calling or saying something. I'll
Wow.
just show up at her place. Then I'll tell her I'm just tired because I'm tired of eating posho
For
and beef,
sure.
blah blah
Jeez.
blah. Sometimes she'd like, and then she'd tell like she'd bring me things and tell me, okay, like should be in like I would know what time to go and like peak. Oh my God, because there's no communication, right? But yeah, I started escaping then, like leaving school and coming back undetected, and I was little. But
Wow.
just for food and grub, and sometimes to buy like you have a little money, and then these the day scholars sometimes
Yeah,
would
you'd
give
give
them
them money to
money.
buy for you
I know
like
to bring us some
popcorn.
popcorn.
Man, you'd have like 500 shillings and eat it for the whole term because you just used to buy like popcorn for 50 cents.
Oh my God, things were cheap then, yo. Anyways,
Yeah.
so um, fast forward, I'm done with Centrizer
Pri- Primary, yeah.
primary, and I'm going secondary. Then when I was like the moment I got into secondary school, because my first term of senior one, I went to Zambia, St.
Was it
Joseph's.
in day or boarding?
No, it was boarding,
Okay.
St. Joseph's. But now that is me now slowly moving closer to my sister.
I know we used to stay like right there.
It was like I know it was like my sister was always calling because that's where I always felt like this is where I belong. If I'm not with my mom, I'd rather be with my sister. So I went to Zambia for one term, and then of course for the that holiday I came to my sister's and I insisted, and then before the end of the holiday, my dad comes and gets me. Now all of a sudden they are changing my school. I was happy in Zambia. I don't know why in God's name he had to take me all the way to Mbarara. I was okay at St. Joseph's.
Gen
But
Z will never know the things we went through.
then all of a sudden they're taking me to a new school. Now I'm thinking, what? Like
And
I
all
don't
the way
know.
in Barara. Wow.
Now in Mbarara, here I have relatives. I can write a letter and give it to somebody to deliver it somewhere so my sister can get it. Or if
Yeah.
I needed something, it would be easier for my sister to deliver it to me.
Yeah.
Now they take me all the way to Mbarara where I did not know anybody. So again, I'm in Ibarra starting over. We like new situation. Well, school was school. But then I think my senior two is when I put my foot down and told everybody, I do not care what you say. You've made decisions for me all my life. Now I think I'm grown enough to make my own
I
decisions.
got this from here.
you know I'm like, your job is just to pay the school fees, the rest I am going to decide for myself. Oh my God, like you would. Oh, blah blah
I
blah.
think
So
that's the Vanessa I remember.
So
I
we
don't
started,
remember this other Vanessa, like the one you were talking about earlier. I just know this
yeah,
one who
because
was like,
then
"Yo, I got this."
my crop started way before you were born, honey.
I think
So
those days, I
the
don't even
one
think
that you
I
met,
saw you because you weren't coming home.
right?
So my memory of you is when you were in secondary school.
Yes. Why? Because then I made my decision. I'm like, I'm going to go to my sister's. If I'm not going to my sister's, it's pointless. You don't gotta send me back to school because I'm done. I'm not gonna go back to school if I can't go to my sister's. So somehow it was, still signed and delivered. Now I go to my sister's for the holidays. And then that's when, like, that sense of relief. Finally, you're going someplace, you feel accepted, you feel you're understood, like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, I have now little siblings who are
That's
my
me.
nieces. I know, like all of it. So now I have little kids to teach my stuff. No, you don't dress that way. You don't
You
wear
were a god. Oh
that.
my god, a goddess. If Vanessa
Same
said
here.
jump, you jump. I remember one time I pronounced something wrong, and you're like, "No, that's not how they say it." I'm like, "Oh yes, Your Majesty." I used to
Oh
look
my.
at you and be like, "Will I ever be like this woman?"
Hmm.
I don't know.
Can you imagine yet people's traumas are shaping their life?
I know. Me, I'm like, I want your trauma.
People
Please
are-
give it to me.
Oh my
That's the
God.
funny thing about life. That's the funny
I,
thing about life. But yeah, that's the Vanessa I remember, because I think at the time we used to go. You used to come to mommy's, and then they would send us all to Fort Porto for holidays.
yes. And then we'd go together, but still as a
Yes,
family.
in a bus. Oh, that was the best time.
Uh, and then would have, even there would go as a family and they like do whatever they needed us to do, pray, go crazy.
And you guys used to escape from home.
Oh yes, honey, the club situation had started.
For us, we didn't even know what club was.
My, in all honesty, guess what? So I think in primary school, because even when I was in like primary Buhinga, like in my early ages, they knew there was a teacher there. May God rest her soul in peace. She passed, Miss Katorogo. I don't know if she was Mrs. or Miss Katorogo. She was a music teacher.
Yeah.
This woman she's the one who identified my talent way, way, like I was way too like tiny, but she got me to start playing the what
Dingida.
do you call it? I don't know how they call it.
Yeah, it's a
Like it's like
dingida.
a
Those who know
guitar,
it know
but
it.
right. And then also this other thing that what was that?
Adungo.
Whatever. I don't
Ah,
remember
yeah.
the thing. The one where you
Ndinda or something like that. I only know them
they
in
have
Luganda
English
because
names
I
for that
yeah.
stuff, but I've not paid attention to that.
I don't think
I
that
know
English people have those instruments.
no, they do, but they have them like
Really?
the not
The
the
advanced
African type,
level. Ah,
advanced
a
level. And they
xylophone or
have,
something like that.
yes,
Yes.
you understand?
I am cool. I did play cool instruments. I used to think they were all local.
No, so they had the cooler versions. We had the African ones because we made them ourselves. You get it?
Yeah.
She identified my talent super super early in life, and already she put me in the like I joined the school choir when I was like I was I think the tiniest. They even stood me in the middle, but I was already in the school choir and already doing stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, how can she do it better than you? Like trying to tell the other older kids, like, can you just take? I think for me it was just a natural thing. It came naturally to me. I did not feel like it was a struggle. To. So because I had those qualities when I went to Centuries and like I felt like now in Centuries I don't gotta go home like after school. So if we are at school while the other kids are in preps, you are practicing your instruments and stuff. Honey, what's better than that? Okay?
And the door would be closed. He was like, "Wait, you're in the entertainment. Okay, you can enter. Otherwise, the rest of you go to prep."
Your preps and do your work or whatever.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
you're playing
And
your
you
instrument.
also got excused from going for rosary, like so the
Yes.
saying of the rosary and stuff. Yeah,
Especially
yeah,
when we had competitions coming up. We did not have time for anything else. All our breaks were like doing the work, trying to
yeah,
perfect our craft before we
yeah.
present it.
And then Saint Mary Hill.
So
What
Mary
was
Hill
so
was,
special about Mary Hill?
oh my God. So I joined Mary Hill second term, senior one, second term. The special thing I think about Mary Hill was the fact that I always knew I would come home man, life started to feel a little different. And then, but still, remember, um, from like my past experience and stuff, I had this rebellious spirit. Like I rebelled even when something was good for me. Okay, as long as it's told to me by an adult, I always felt like adults did not have my best interest at heart.
It's
Like
called
because
Adolo.
maybe I don't know too, but then no, but also that like growing up different from other people and
You
not
just
feeling
feel like they
enough.
didn't understand you. They were like
So I
blocking
started
your progress.
right. So I started this mentality of saying, well, if they don't like me, so what? I don't care, but I cared. That was the whole thing. Because then that was pretend not caring, but I
You did?
actually oh honey, I cared so much, but nobody had to know that. That was my own inside battle, like the battle I had to fight like internally. I internalized all that stuff, but then when I stepped out anywhere, be it on stage or whatever, I always was that girl that got it together. But I did not have anything together. I kid you not. Like it was a mess in my head. It was a
Yeah.
mess in my head. Anyways, remember also, I experienced loss of siblings. So okay, flashback. I was born into a large family that I did not get to connect with any of my siblings while I was younger. So most of them I started to connect with them after I got into high school. Right? Because then I had started making that decision for myself, like I want to be with my family, blah blah blah. And then when they sent us back to Fort Porto, then I connected with my brother Richard, Frank. You understand? Like then I started to connect with them because they were leaving home, like they were living at home. They would come in, or the
Yeah.
couple of
Yeah.
days, blah blah blah. Then we'll go in, and then all of a sudden now it's almost like you're meeting new people, but then they're your brothers. You understand? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
but then, yeah, so that's when my connection with my siblings kind of
Start.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only sibling I remember connecting with from the beginning was my big brother Jude, because even when I was in
You
Buhinga, he
were
was
close to
in.
each other, yeah, in
Yes,
age.
and also, but except I didn't understand why he would come from home to come to Buhinga and I had to leave someplace else. That part used to confuse me quite a bit because nobody explained it to me. Anyways,
Do you know now? Well,
huh?
you, do you know now?
Well, I believe okay, I don't know, but I believe that they wanted what was best for me, but nobody asked me what was best for me, or like what I thought was best for me, because then kids
Yeah.
did not have rights
I
or
think
whatever.
it's quite common for parents to do that. Like they think they're doing the best for you, but when what you actually need is to be with your parents. Like no matter how poor you are, I want to be in that poverty and experience it
Yes,
in a home full of love with my parents.
because
Simple.
guess what? We like now remember our childhood growing up. We were not okay. We were not well off. How many kids did were we sharing? What was it? Two rooms or one? Like two rooms, I think, at some point. How many were we?
I don't even remember
Like
poverty.
a
All I
lot
know
of
is I
us.
was the richest person. Like, we weren't
Yes,
poor. Okay,
but then there
guys who
was
are listening, we weren't poor.
I mean, like
Grandma
poverty
always reminded us
in a sense of
every time we were going back to Kampala. Do you know what grandma used to tell us?
mm,
She'd be like, "You guys think Kampala is it? Go back to your Kampala and eat your market food. Here you get everything from the farm."
organic.
And
I
when I
know.
look back, I'm like, all my poverty days were in Kampala when I was sleeping in cool houses where we were buying food and eating limited food. But
No,
back home,
oh
they would
my
bring
God.
a sack of matoke, a sack of cassava, a sack. We had a sack of everything I needed, mangoes, whatever. So actually,
Like
poverty
you only have to
is
drink for
relative. It's how you look at it. Yeah. Because you might think people who are going to hotels are the rich people when you have everything in your garden.
no, but guess what? Here's the thing. That's exactly the mentality I told you about. Like I
Yeah.
grew up thinking my father was the poorest man in his family
Because he
because
didn't have what
he lived in
cars.
no, he lived in Fort Porto. You
Wow.
understand? He lived in the village, and then these people are living in Kampala, and my
Ah,
other
yeah, there
uncle
was that
is
thought back in the
speaking,
day. Yeah,
and you
yeah.
understand? So Kampala then came off like those are the people who have made it in life, okay? In Uganda.
And yet the guy was out there
They were
building and
struggling
doing all this stuff.
and like buying land. Like, listen, I am so grateful because right now, like everything I probably would say I have is
Your
from him.
foundation, yeah. Yeah, your
He
foundation, yeah.
left a foundation for each and every one of his children. And boy, did he have kids. A lot
Yeah,
of us.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. But he was always working towards our future,
The
investing for
future.
us while we were like, why is
Looking
he
for
always,
cars.
why is he always the one? Now, me, I used to like, of course, I used to compare them, right? With my other
Yeah.
uncle.
And I remember
And he's like,
grandpa and grandma used to ride their bicycles to go to the garden.
yes,
Yes, I
I'm telling
remember
you.
very well.
So the weird part was where I'm looking at my dad and comparing him to his younger brother, my uncle, Sanyu, and I'm thinking, oh my God, my uncle has so many pairs of shoes. I think that was when I saw, oh, men can have more
And your
shoes, right?
dad had boots.
Boots for to go to the
The
farm,
farm.
and then when he would come out and wear his like little tiny weird shoes, but that's Guido Rubege, like like they were
He was such a simple man. Rest his
very very
soul.
simple. He wore the same shirt, so me I felt embarrassed by him. Does that make sense?
I hear
Why?
you.
Because I'm thinking, oh my God, all these kids, like you understand, like all these kids' parents
Can't
are
you
looking
buy a
like
car?
presentable and stuff. This one is always riding his bicycle.
The guy was trying to be healthy. He was already past the edge.
You understand? But did we understand any of that then? No. To
Yeah,
me, I was
that's the
because guess
amazing
what?
thing.
Even my cousins looked at me as the one that comes from the poorest of the families. You understand?
Yeah.
So there was no way of denying that, but also like later in life I understood like now I know better. Does that make sense? Like I
Yeah,
know
true. Yeah,
better.
we understand life backwards. Yeah.
Right.
So you were talking about loss.
Close.
Can you speak a little bit
Yes,
about this?
close.
Yeah.
So as you know, I lost my first sibling when I was 10 years old. I was about to turn, I think I was going to turn 11 because I think she died June or July. Catherine, your aunt. Um, and I was turning 11, I think, that year in December. So I was 10. Um, I saw, meaning like where I would come home for school breaks, because I was living in Fort
Briefly.
Portal, coming back and forth, Actually, no, I think I was already no, I was in Fort Portal, coming back and forth for whatever. So my sister got sick. She got AIDS or HIV,
Yeah.
whatever.
I think that was the early 90s, right? That was the time when
It
it
was
was a pandemic.
yeah, it was
Pandemic in
yeah, early,
Uganda.
yes, 1991, I think. I don't know. I
Yeah,
think so.
I was probably just born around 91. I was 91 probably. I
I
was probably
think
one. I
so.
don't even remember her. I don't know her.
Right? No, you don't. No,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
would not remember her because
yeah. It
I
was a
remember
huge
her face.
pandemic, yeah?
Hmm.
That
So
must
that
have
time,
made grandma. You, so I
oh
guess that's the reason why we were all kept in
my
prison in
God.
that house. Okay, it wasn't a prison, but she never allowed us
It
to do
was a prison.
anything.
No, honey, tell it as it was. To her, she protected us so much that it
Was
started
it
feeling
from there? Was
we
it
had,
rooted from that
yes,
experience for her child?
very, very
Okay,
much
I, I,
so.
I think it makes sense now to me.
Very much so. You know
She was
why?
afraid we might all get sick as well.
Yes. Now remember that when my sister got sick, that time we had about maybe over 10 people on the same village, different households. You understand? All suffering from the same thing. And when the death started, Rusty, it was insane. We were burying somewhere
Almost every
every
week.
day, pretty much every
Wow.
day. Somebody would
Yeah.
die and be buried. So when my sister was sick, when I came for holidays and she was sick, and like, she's my sister. Of course, I do not really quite understand what's going on. What? Because even then, I don't think anybody understood. Even the adults did not understand how AIDS was transmitted. Like they knew it was okay, sexual, but also you could transmit it saliva. They had all these.
I remember, yeah, there was a whole, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
So
remember, but
I think
I
that's where
have
the
read about back in the time, yeah.
right
Like
side. Okay, so
sharing
that's where the
cups,
symptoms start.
sharing beds, like people didn't want to share
Yes.
like the external stuff, yeah.
Nothing. They so that's when I realized my sister had her separate like dishes. Like she had to use
Oh,
specific dishes
that
because she
was
was not allowed
painful.
like they would not serve her on any other dish except hers because
At
now
home.
yes, at home in her home because then she might infect others. You understand? Now then my mom was scared. I totally understand now that I'm a mom. I guess if I putting myself in her shoes, I can totally understand like, oh my God, if I'm losing one, I do not want to lose all my other children. So if
Yeah.
bringing awareness is going to be my job, I'm going to just do that. But then I feel like she went to the extremes of that, because what happened is then she started using my sister as an example, like right in front of her face. You understand? Like she's laying there dying, and you're teaching me and I remember then my cousin Joan. They're teaching us stuff like, oh, uh, you
You
see
know where
what
you're
boys,
going to end up.
do you see what boys cause if you connect with. So it's almost like they're scaring you in ways like, don't even holding hands. If they have it, you don't know. Yo, in the 90s, we're like freaking out because you don't know whose hand you can hold, because you know if they have it and you might catch it, because there was not enough clarity on how the disease was spread. Anyways, long story short, my mom once left us, of course, to watch my sister, because she never stopped going to church. Like going to church, her masses, like even during the week or whatever. So she goes to church, and we're watching my sister. So I was the one that was watching her then. I go into her room, and she was itchy. Like she was feeling itchy and stuff. So she asked me to
Oh,
to scratch her and relieve the
yeah.
itch. So I start to scratch her. I actually jump into her bed on the other side and like lay with her while I'm like scratching her, right?
You want to catch AIDS or what? I'm guessing that's what they told
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. You know your grandmother. Honey,
Nkalagambira banani.
the first of all, the way she yelled out, right? The way she yelled at me could have even killed the patient. Okay? It was that bad.
Well, she was protecting you
She
from
yanked me
HIV.
out of that bed. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yanked me out of that bed, made me like she like brush. She started scrubbing my hands,
Oh
like
my
because I was
god.
using, how I was scrubbing, like scratching my sister.
Yeah.
She starts to scrub my hands, like, oh my god, what are you trying to do? You're trying to die too, bro. So now, it was bad. It
That
was
must
like
have been
really really bad,
confusing.
because I think that was also the first person that I actually saw that got really really sick. She was like so skinny. She like her lips, she had like, you understand, like she basically was not looking like herself, like herself anymore. um so finally she passed, and that one I actually buried, my sister. And then my other sibling, I just had surgery, I think, appendicitis. I had my appendix removed,
Yeah.
and then I was home for a bit, and then I went to school. Uh, went back to Maryhill, and then when I was in like school, I didn't know what was going on, blah blah. So you know how like senior one students start, like they start school a little later,
Yeah.
well, the term has already started, then the senior ones kind of come in later.
Yeah.
So that year, I think it was 98, they were bringing in Estella. Estella was joining Maryhill for her senior one. So of course, ooh, I'm excited. Beatrice is there, Stephen. Oh my God, this is like my family. You understand? So I'm excited. Oh, so I go down there. Of course, they will tell you like if you have a relative coming, blah blah blah, or you see your relative, you can go help them out and like take them to their assigned dormitories and things like that. So I was supposed to help Stella settle in, but I do not think I actually did, because during the time I was receiving her and like greeting my relatives, like the Stevens and Beatrice.
Yeah.
Um, then Steven, Beatrice's husband, like Stella's dad, goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like I'm so sorry for what happened." Blah blah. Then me, I'm thinking he's talking about my surgery, because I just had surgery. So I tell him, "Oh no no no, Tanya, I'm good. I am actually better now." Blah blah blah. No 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 no. I'm talking about Chris's death. I'm like, huh? I'm like, wait. What are you talking about? It's like, Kazoba. I'm like, yeah. What he? Yeah, he died. Well, I think they had buried him maybe, I don't know, weeks, and nobody wrote me a letter. Nobody called the
Came to tell
school.
you.
for them to like inform me that I'd lost a sibling. This was one of my close siblings. Remember, like I'd been like, oh, he was mostly at home. Like in Fort Porto, he was there a lot. You remember your uncle, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So it did not quite register in my head. I'm thinking that's not possible.
yeah.
Like what the hell? Like that's not possible. Anyways, long story short, I go back into my dormitory, and then I think that was the first time I actually physically hurt myself. You know how we used to have razor blades, right? Like razor blades and like this
Yeah.
little whatever. So while everybody was sleeping, dumb, it was very dumb because I was not
No, you were
suicidal. I was
hurt.
not trying to
You were
kill
hurt.
myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So I started cutting the incision, that part where they had cut me initially to remove my appendix, right? So I slowly started cutting the incision, slow, like I cut it around it enough for like at least the middle part to actually open, like it because it wasn't like a thing very like quite healed, you know. So it opened up, and I was bleeding, and then I started crying for help and whatever. The matron, I think was a matron that came in because then there was no like teachers on school grounds, and then they went because the teachers' places were very close, whatever. They went to the headmistresses because the headmistress was like somewhat close to my behind my dormitory. That's where the headmistress's house was near the art class.
Yeah.
So they went reported that as emergency to the school. They took me to the school nurse first, and then they took me to Mbara Hospital, and then they stitched me up a little. They stitched me up again, and then the next day, the headmistress said, "You know what? She needs to go back home and heal fully." Maybe they sent her back because I told them it just happened. I was coughing. Or, no, I was carrying something heavy because I just went with whatever the doctors had stopped me from doing for a while, and said that that's what I was doing, and then. But I think they kind of knew because you can tell a cut from a rip. I don't know, but they didn't really quite in Uganda. I think if it was here in America, they would have probably put in suicide watch, got you uh, therapy, whatever, because then they would know. But in
Were you
Uganda,
hurting yourself for like to inflict pain on yourself, or did you do it so you can go home?
oh, no, I did it. The sole purpose of me cutting myself was so they could send me home because I
Ah,
knew
okay.
there were
Yeah.
only specific things that they would handle at school when you're sick, but there was also things that they had definitely they would send you home. So I knew that this was a definite go back home, right? And that's exactly what happened. So they sent me home. Um, I made it home. Eventually, I got off the whatever the bus, and met my grandma. She's the one that I met first, and I asked her, "Is it true?" Because all I wanted was somebody to tell me it was not true. It did not happen. My grandma confirms it happened, and I almost died. I still remember that pain of because I was between the pain of losing my brother, feeling betrayed by my own family, feeling now all these other feelings of they've never really liked me. My parents never, you understand? Came all
Yeah.
like they all came back in that moment of like, yeah, the fact that they can even not let me know when I lose my brother. I
I
feel
don't
like
mean that much to them. Yeah.
yes, like I'm not that important to this family.
Yeah.
So then now when you get that part, and then when my mom came in, again, she did not know any better. When she came back from work, I think she was working then, and she found me home, she did not give me, how do I say,
What
like,
you wanted.
comfort me and tell me, listen, this is what blah, blah, blah.
Grandma has
She
tough
was
love.
complaining, okay?
Why
She
did you hurt yourself?
complained. Why would you? No, no. What? I was like, Kazo, like, still crying about my brother, and she goes, "Enough already. You're going to block his way to heaven or something." There was, there was some dumb religious thing I was told. I swear to God, something about if you're crying for the dead. I think
Then they
the
won't make it
Catholic,
to
I think the
heaven.
Catholics believe like if somebody's like in what purgatory, I think
Purgatory,
the
yeah.
first stop, like according to Catholic, there is a stop before where before they
Before you
determine whether you go
decide
heaven
where to
or hell.
go. Yeah.
So She believed her son's soul was
I
still in
think it's where
purgatory.
you go if you were a sinner or something like that, and then you have to make it to heaven. Because the ones who are like good, they go straight, and then there are those who are like, nah, then they be somewhere
So
like somewhere
yes,
in
so I
between.
think it was like purgatory. I think is a symbol in the Catholic faith where supposedly God, when God is not sure if you belong in heaven or hell, that's where your first stop is. If you belong in hell, you go straight to hell. If you belong in heaven, you go straight to heaven. But if you're in
If
between,
your soul can be, oh, that's why they pray for the people
then they pray for
in
the
case so
dead
that they
soul.
can, so that you can go through heaven.
Right, like make it to heaven. Or if there's nobody praying for you and people are just crying for you, you may as well be sent to hell. So I can understand.
I didn't know this.
So I can understand my mom's fear of, she comes to send her brother to hell.
But that
Me,
you must have been like around 14, right? That's quite a young age. Like those are too many emotions
it
for a
was,
teenager to deal with.
trust me. I don't.
Wh- As you speak about this, I also I I was at school when this happened. Like at least you got to deal with it. No one ever talked to us. I couldn't. Like we would literally just go to school, come back, and there's a grave right there.
Somebody,
No one talks about. Like just say, oh yeah, that person died. Move on. I remember because
I know it was
Uncle
really like,
Chris was like someone we knew when we came back. Then after
yes,
a year, I think
it
or
was like
something, I came
a
back.
very fun uncle.
Yeah, and great grandma also passed, and then after that, like people would die, and you just come back and see the graveyard. But the one that really must have been 1998. Auntie Rose, can you speak a little bit about this? Because I know you were right there. Like you were
Yes,
there when it happened.
that,
That thing was so
was,
traumatizing for me. It was my first death I experienced because I remember you came, I remember we were praying
we're all
and
in
then
one.
I was so sleepy and I went to the room. And
Mhm.
then when I woke up, you came and you're like, you actually woke me up and you're like, Resty, Rosa's dead. I'm like, what? I
I know
couldn't
because that
believe
bitch
it.
did not look like she was gonna die,
Yeah. Because
right?
remember, like a few days before she seemed fine. That was the
Yes,
first death that really hit me. Up to now,
it's the one that
I
when you're thinking about death, that's what you remember more, like most.
it was one of those things that was like, I was just with this woman the other day, you know? She died. Like, it was so hard for me even to believe. And I was so afraid of the corridor because,
I know, and also remember that Auntie Rose was one of those aunties that was so like involved in your
yeah,
life, like you were close,
she
like
was, yeah, we were really close to her. I
exactly.
remember you, Amy, and Grandma were seated right there when she breathed her
I know,
last. How,
I
how
know.
did that, how was that experience for you?
So okay, number one, that was the well, I had seen a dead sister before, but I found her dead. Like she was already dead when they brought me for the burial. That was
Yeah.
Catherine. But for Rose, it was different. I had because remember that when mom was out and about, I was taking care of her. Like we would take care of her, like
Yeah.
go, whatever. But then she was
Yeah.
also not very helpless. Remember, she was not like
She had
she did not seem like
episodes.
somebody who
Yeah.
was at the end of life. That was the
Yeah.
part
She had
very
that those
confusing.
like a few days before she died where she was okay, like completely okay.
Yes, she even visited.
And
When
then the
I even
next
walked
day
with
she
her,
wasn't talking.
I walked
Then
with
she
her.
died.
She went to Angelica's place, Auntie Angelica.
Yeah. And
Went
she
to
went
the
saying bye
Kabbalah.
to everyone.
I know she was all over the village, and I remember somebody. I don't know somebody. One of I think the Ka, Kaijuka family people. When we passed, like coming back home, walking back home. One of the she stopped there and like I don't know if it was one of the Kaijuka family members. I think it was one of those girls or one of the boys that passed. She stopped there and they had like this long conversation where I even started feeling like, oh my God, when is she getting? Because you're standing there, you're not part of the conversation, you're just walking with her. You understand? I'm like, oh my God, when is she going to get done? She was like, she was perfectly okay. And that's why a lot of people in the village were very shocked.
Yeah, because I know people were
Asked, like,
saying
what happened?
everywhere she went, she always told people, "Oh, I'll see you on Friday," and that's the day she got buried.
Yes.
I
Yes.
remember that day
And
grandma
even that,
came back and she was like, why did you guys
act-
let her go?
actually, it was Arjuna. I think he's a late too. Arjuna, Juka's family. Because I remember she's like she said, I think then she was actually even planning, she was talking about going back to Kampala because she was feeling better, you know? And then we get home and like she actually told everybody, it's like, oh,
See you on
I'll
Friday.
come back. I'll come back. I'll see you guys on Friday. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe Friday is when she intends to go back walking and like checking on him. But she used to get bored at home, right?
That was a Wednesday. I remember it was market day. My grandma was at the market that day,
I
and it
know.
rained so heavily.
So we are at home. We are taking care of her with her little baby Joshua. Joshua was tiny, remember? You know? And then that in the evening, some I think she ran a fever. I think it started with a fever.
The day
So
before she
like,
stopped talking, I remember.
yeah, that no, she
Then
started running a fever.
that
Then that's
night,
when she
yeah,
stopped.
that night, yeah.
Yes. First, she started running a fever. And then I remember when we were like reporting back to mom after she came back, it's like, hey, she got a fever at some point, blah, blah, blah. Then, but we were put, like, because she found her on
Yeah,
those wet clothes that would use to like lower the
to
temperature,
cool her
right?
down, yeah.
Right. So things seemed okay. And then she comes, I think at that point, I think the last person she actually said anything to, I think by the time mom came back, she had started kind of like, she had somewhat lost her
Speech, yeah.
speech. I think like from the fever, it went super fast. It happened
I remember
so
they brought some
fast.
lady to pray for her or something like that. Those last prayers of death or
Uh-huh.
something,
The
yeah.
the prayers for the dying or something. And I remember being against it and telling my mom, why would you do this? She's gonna be okay. Why would you say prayers as if you know she's gonna die? And and also I feel like I never really stopped blaming my mom because I feel like, oh my God, if she hadn't done certain things, maybe she wouldn't have died. Now I understand how death works, but I still cannot quite move past that part because now when she started to breathe funny at some point because she was not talking anymore now, so she starts to breathe funny, like as if she's like that kind
Yeah,
of breathing.
say, yeah.
So right, so that's the time actually they called the lady to pray because my mom knew the signs because all my mom's children died in her arms, all of
Yeah, I
them,
think
all of
grandma
them.
had gone through it so much that she could
She
sense
knew.
death was coming. Yeah.
Yes, she knew. But the one that those of us that didn't know were confused as to why she's having these people pray for her as if she's
Which
leaving this
explains
earth.
why she has like that heart towards like death. She's like, you know what? Because she buried her kids, she buried her
Yes,
grandkids, her mom, and they all died in like she was
in her
there.
arms. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse for you to bring your children into the world and then escort them
It
out of
must
the
be. It
world.
must be traumatizing. It must be traumatizing.
Because I feel like children should not, like mothers should not bury their kids. It shouldn't be that way, you know?
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
how it happened for her. Anyways, she starts to breathe funny and then we were sitting there. Of course, now we're watching her because now mom has talked about, of course, she's dying, blah blah blah. Then you guys actually like later at night, everybody, most of you guys were asleep actually.
It
I think
was
it was
just
just me
you,
and
Amy, and grandma. Yeah.
mom. Yeah, so we're the only ones that were awake. Um, then no, actually, Richard too was awake, but he was not in the room, but he was awake because I remember when mom sent us to go and call Amoti Mchera Matayo to go and call her. Um, at that time, like she was still breathing that stuff, but I don't know what mom had seen or because she had seen people die, so I guess she knew it was very close. So she sent us out to go and call Amoti Mchera Matayo. So we went and let her know and came back with her, brought her in, and then as she's breathing, they're praying, they're telling us to like, oh, to get out of the room, because then I think they're trying to, like, to see if she needs to be cleaned
Yeah.
or stuff like that, whatever. But we said, me and Imi refused to leave the room. We did not go anywhere. So when they started like to clean her and whatever, well, she's still like breathing. I'm like, but you're moving her a lot. Maybe you're the ones that are making it difficult for her to breathe. Because me in that moment, I'm thinking, leave her alone so she can, because you're moving her about, whatever. Anyways, they finally stopped and she was still breathing. And then she went, I don't know how to describe it,
Yeah. She breathed like she
like
did. Had,
like a
yeah.
sigh. It sounded like a sigh. And that was it. There was because now she was having trouble breathing. You'd tell that you can tell when somebody's struggling with breathing. You can tell because they're moving their chest a lot, whatever. Her chest stopped moving, like everything stopped. Do you understand that? So now I'm like looking at my sister, I'm freaking out. Okay. I'm touching her, she's warm, something. Now these people are trying out, like, oh, she's gone, blah, 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 blah. I'm no, 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 no. So I'm like fighting my mom and Matayo, trying to, until my mom literally threw me out of the room. Now I'm thinking, oh my God, these two women are responsible for her death because that was too soon. Like, you
To
understand, like,
announce someone dead, yeah, pronounce someone
yeah, but
dead.
she was gone, you know?
Yeah.
Except
I
me, the way I was
remember the
feeling
memory I
fucking-
have is grandpa carrying her lifeless body. I don't even know
yes,
how that
I
was for
cannot,
him to
actually,
carry
that
your
was,
your daughter's lifeless body. She was literally, that was the
I,
first dead body I saw, like in that way. They were literally carrying her, then they put her in the living room,
I
and we had
remember.
to go through this process because they buried her like a few days later.
Yeah,
So
they
we
were, I
had to
think
see
she was,
her.
she died that day, then she was, she spent the I think she spent the entire day in where people started, like the next day, in where
Yeah,
people started coming. I think we buried her, I think 2 days later.
yeah, because they had to wait for
Yeah,
mommy.
yeah, it was fast,
Yeah.
but and then we are outside, and then I start to cry when they threw me out of the room, right? I think Imi too was thrown, like they threw us out, and they just stayed in the room together, the two, Moti and my mom. So now I'm in the hallway. Now I'm beginning, because remember when the mother was breathing her last, Joshua woke up from his sleep crying, crying helplessly. And I'm telling
Yeah.
mom, maybe let's get him and put him next to his mom for a bit. No, because in Africa, I think it's unheard of for somebody to lay next to a dead body or stuff like. But me in my head, I'm thinking maybe he's just missing his mom. I don't know what we're gonna do with this kid who's tiny, who's little, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, long story short, um, I start to cry, and then my brother Richard comes and like we are all like now we are confused and crying and stuff. You should have seen how mom walked out of that room and told us, I do not want to hear one sound from anybody. Right now, I'm trying to make sure that to send my child to heaven, blah, blah, blah. And with these cries and stuff, they're distracting. They have a belief in the Catholic faith. I do not know what it is. But, girl, was stopped from crying. And guess what she says now? Because it was 2 morning when she died. It was maybe 3-ish or 4-ish, something like that.
I know what's coming.
You were there.
We had to go
5
get
in the
water.
morning. Everybody get a jerrycan and go to the well and start fetching water. Make sure you fill all the drums. Yo,
Well,
we just lost our relative. Like,
she had just lost. Anyways, it's really hard to even imagine what she was thinking, even if she was fighting and
can you
being
imagine?
strong.
I know, because
Because all she's thinking at that moment is, okay, she's gone, nothing I can do, but there are guests coming. Millions of people come when you've died,
uh-huh,
when someone has lost their loved
cleaning.
one.
Remember the
The
chores
whole
we did?
house comes, exactly. So at that moment, for her, she's thinking, I can sit here and cry, or I can plan for what's coming next.
You know what? I
But
think my mom
for
is
us, we
one
were
of the
in confusion.
strongest. I think my mom is one of the strongest women I know. I kid
I'm
you
gonna
not.
talk to her soon. I hope she can talk about this stuff. I think she'll probably just be like, "Yeah, I lost this. Let's
I
move
know, but
on."
I hope she. No,
I
I
don't
think
think she talks
lately. No,
about
no, no.
it.
Actually, lately in her old age, she chats a little more. She's probably
Okay,
gonna. No, she's probably
let's
gonna
see.
give you the story.
I hope so.
She'll
I'll
give
be
it to
like
you.
Vanessa said.
Yes, please refer to that. Anyways,
Anyways,
she
let's
started doing
let's
all these
move to
chores,
let's
cleaning,
move. I
whatever,
think
and
this
then
this
that.
is even it's like a
Okay,
very painful
so for me that
even
was
memory.
because remember how she was when she was sick, right? I
She
think
was
that
like
was full blown
most
mental
beautiful.
health.
No,
Remember?
she did have a
Yes, she
mental
had
health
mental health
problem.
issues,
Yeah.
and whatever it was something that was going on in her brain.
I think they
And
said
I
it
feel
was
like when she died,
meningitis.
she probably
Meningitis, because
bled
she
into
would
her
lose
brain.
it.
Something happened
Yeah.
because remember that time when she was running around and like ripping her clothes off of her. She's like her
Yeah.
head was bugging her and stuff. Yeah, I feel like that
I
was like
remember grandma used to make us to sit outside her room just so she couldn't leave when she was naked
yes,
or something. Yeah,
exactly.
she did have a mental health problem, and unfortunately, maybe it could have been
When a
fixed, but
diagnosis,
no one knows.
yeah, Yeah, and then of
Anyways,
course,
first, I think we should
my
even skip Vanessa.
no, let's just everything I've given you, I think, enough about my my childhood traumas. So how they shaped me into the woman that I am. Number one. All right, so we're talking about abuse. I was 15, I think. Yeah, 15. And I'm not going to go into details of that, okay? But all we know is I was raped by a family, a very close family friend slash relative, because at least we grew up referring to him as our uncle. After my rape, I was told by my rapist that the entire time when we were, because family friend, of course, you're gonna hang out. If like there was, I think, a concert or something, they took me to, right? He had taken me to that concert because I was the only one that was into those music things, blah, blah. So everybody knew what my thing was. So after that concert, like when after it happened, now I have to sit in the car with my abuser to take me home. Okay. So during that ride, I remember him. The first question is like, but you know you were asking for it the whole time at the show, the way you were dancing and stuff. Me, I was just a child,
At
a teenager,
15.
that I was like literally like apparently the way I was dancing and like excited and jumping around whatever I like for him, the message he got in his head is I wanted him in that way.
Yeah, but even if he did, then why did he have to?
No,
Why was he
oh
doing
no,
it
no. The
forcefully?
choking and holding part is you know how men will be like. No, the thing is this. First of all, how did I ask him? Because when we got to where it happened, it was a house of some of his relatives. He seemed like he was going to pick up something from there, like from their apartment, calm down, and then we go. I remember telling him, "Oh, it's okay. I'll stay in the car listening to music." Because I think we were listening, I think Capital FM or something. There was a radio station. So me, I said that I would stay in the car listening to music when we can run up and come back. He's like, "What's wrong with you? Come on, come on. Why would you stay in the car? Blah blah blah." Then of course, as a naive, I didn't see it. I didn't see
15.
it coming. Listen, I did not see it coming until you know how he had the key to that apartment for some reason.
He had planned it somehow.
I don't know. So he opened the door. We got into the apartment. And really, the moment the door locked behind me, is when this man turned into a monster. All of a sudden, he's grabbing my tiny boobs. They're like painful because because my boobs grew in a little. I was a late bloomer because I did not even get my period until freaking 16. So he's like literally like he has a lot of energy. All of a sudden, he's not that uncle that I know anymore. It's like something that like as if he was possessed.
Snapped. Yeah,
You
something
understand? Like
snapped
he
in
wasn't
him.
him anymore. Grabbed me, pulled me over, like I kid you not, the way he ripped my clothes off and stuff. I remember telling him, no, no, oh my God, no, I've never done this before. Oh my God. He's like, no, I'll teach you. But you're teaching me, like, oh my God. Then when I started to cry out in pain, is when he said, like, first he slapped me, tell me, quiet. And then now I'm crying from the slap and the pain of him penetrating me. Like, I still remember how that felt. Like, to today, that's something that I guess never, like, quite leaves you. It just kind of sticks with, like, you remember exactly how it went down. And child, then the holding, and then I'm feeling like I can't breathe because now he's holding my mouth and slightly my parts of my nose, right? No when a man has big hands, right? So now, like his hand on my face is somewhat also blocking my nose. So I'm like I'm trying to gasp for air. Like it felt like I was going to die that day. That's how I remember it. Like, and then when I sat in the car, I'm like now very scared of him. But then he's touching my thigh and telling me, "Ah, you no, the next time you don't worry. When I do it to you the next time, it will feel better." But you wanted it, right? You. I don't know if that is was guilt. I don't know what it was. But in my head, I'm thinking, "Oh my God, I cannot wait." Like all I could, like I was hanging on and just wanting to get home. Because then home, because I'm bubbly again, you get home and you talk, and then I was beat up for speaking ill of a man that they've just taken you to a show. Why would you make up lies about a man? He's a married man. Are you trying to destroy his family? Then they told me I'm never to speak of it ever again. And that was it. I never talked about it until I was telling my brother, because I shared with my brother Jude. Um, and then when else? And then the second time I actually talked about it was here when I was sharing with my sister. And then um, then when that happened, then it's almost like everything that used to happen to me was a constant reminder that you're not good enough, you don't deserve to be treated right. You understand? Like I always went back to that part. Like when that happened to me, I went back to that little girl group. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, why would he treat me? Why would he treat me any better? You
You're
get it?
useless. Yeah.
I mean, like this has been my life somewhat. Like I don't expect any favors or you understand? So moving forward, somehow that experience and my childhood shaped my relationships that followed. So
I
all I
can
thought
imagine.
was, I know, all I assumed was like all men wanted was like sex. So maybe if you accept to give them sex, like if you allow, it might go a little better than you trying to fight it, because then when you fight it, they're still gonna get it anyways, but it's gonna be painful. Does that make sense? So I started to put myself like in that mental state of like, if like, even if they would not, like, even if they didn't pose a threat, does that make sense? Like, even if a man did not pose a threat, in my mind, that's how my mind was wired then. I
Yeah.
felt like the sooner you just warm up to it, the
The
better.
better for you. Yeah.
Yes, the better, because then you don't have to like look back and feel like, oh my God, I got hurt. Oh my God, they slapped me a couple of times. They grabbed my mouth and held me down to stop, to scream out. So I wanted, like, if it has to happen, at least it's not gonna be like beating and all that stuff. But also because of my insecurities and knowing in my, how you're walking around, like even if you're like acting like you got it together, blah blah blah, energy
Yeah.
does not lie, vibrations do not lie. You're still going to always attract people that are looking for somebody damaged, somebody who does not believe in herself, somebody to abuse some more. You get it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how most of my relationships were abusive. Why? Because I chose these people according to my mental state. You get it? My mental state
Wow.
was I was not good enough, so I also always sold myself short.
I told you this woman was a force of nature, didn't I? Well, we're not even halfway there with this story, and she is, oh my God. Vanessa just spits fire. Like she speaks what's on her mind. She does not hold anything back. I had a hard time knowing if I should cut some of the things out or not. But yeah, I let everything stay as it was, as she said it, because this platform is for listeners who are willing to give a safe space to people. I do not want to cut anyone's story halfway. I do not want to edit it unless it's going to cause harm. I just want women to tell their stories. And if you are someone out there who had judged, who has or who is still judging Vanessa for the life that she's living, I hope that this message, this episode and the next episode next week will show you that it's good to give grace to people, because I personally have judged her in the past because of societal expectations and because of, family expectations. And I did apologize to her in this podcast at the end. And I am happy to know this amazing woman who has gone through all this and still comes out standing until the top. Standing on the top. Sorry about that. Anyways, so just do me a favor. Please share this message, comment, review the message, and let me know what you think about it. And also, please follow us on our social media, because I'll be posting as usual video clips from the messages from every podcast. I post every midweek. I think close to the end of the week, I pick out a specific topic and enhance it and talk about it. 2 topics in a message and then a video clip. So until next time, see ya. Please help me spread the word by sharing our episodes with your friends, family, and followers. Let's amplify the voices of women, break barriers, challenge stereotypes, and create a network of support and empowerment. Together, we can bring about positive change and make this world a better place for all. This is SheCentre, the female podcast, where women's stories matter. I love you all. God bless.